Well, my name's Dennis. If we haven't met before, I'm one of the pastors on staff here. I just want to say welcome back. We call this Welcome Back Weekend, and it's the school season has begun, and here we are getting back into some new rhythms or old rhythms and routines, kind of remembering how life goes towards the end of summer. So welcome to church, welcome to Christ Church. Glad to have you here, and if you're new here, we'd invite you to stop by the New Here tent. We built a tent for you. We keep it outside on sunny days like this. It's out front of the building, and we got some people there. We'd love to talk to you, meet you, answer any questions you might have, or if you like, you could text us. There's a QR code here. You could scan that on your smartphone, or just pull up your text, and it says new, and you just text new, and we'll text you back a little later today, and anything you need, just let us know. We're here to help, and would love to get to know you better. And if you're looking to stay connected with all the things going on here, download the CCOF app. You'll have a personalized dashboard inside the app. It's just for you and help you stay up to speed with everything going on here at Christ Church. But like I said, this is Welcome Back Weekend. We're actually starting a new series today, and it's good to be back in church together. And, we got flood warnings. All right, take note. Who doesn't turn their phone off during church? Just teasing you. Just teasing you. We, at our house, got started into the school routine this week. These are my kids. That's Emerson, and that's Adeline, and that's Everett. And we live in Parks, just west of town, so they go to Maine Consolidated out there. And so they started school on Monday, and I tell you, I am exhausted from watching my wife get them to school every day. I help. I usually fix the boys' hair. That's why Everett's got the cool shark fin thing going on there. But she does most of the work, so if you see her later today, make sure you tell her she's a rockin' mom, because she's really the best. But just with those rhythms and routines and all the things, my kids are here every week, and they get to participate over with the Next Gen team with our CCOF kids. And those people, some of you are here today, the people who serve there do an incredible job. Can we give them a round of applause? They serve our kids so well. My kids come home with memory verses. We love picking them up from class and hearing the reports and the teachers putting a great spin on their behavior. They were very excitable today, using, really good descriptive words that aren't too negative. But we just love the way that they just love our kids. They really do. And they love them not just for the sake of loving kids, but because Jesus loves our kids. And they show that love each and every week. And so we just want to say thanks to them, and we're really looking for more team members. We have children's workers at the 8:30 and the 11:30. We really need more help. We'd love to offer that at 10 a.m. We're just short on people. So if that's something that you've done in the past, or maybe God's put a prompt on your heart, we'd love to talk to you. Stop by the New Year tent, let them know, hey, I think I could maybe do that once a month, and let us know. But thanks to those of you who partner with us in that way and serve our children every week. And we're just so grateful for your partnership. We're also so grateful to those of you who are financial partners, the way that you support the ministries of Christ Church. And, somebody's got to pay for the crayons and the gummy bears over there. And, and it makes all the difference. We use all those tools. We steward them diligently. That team works tirelessly. And so thanks for partnering with us financially. And if it's not something that you're doing currently, we'd love to invite you into financial partnership with us. And so you see a couple ways on the screen. But you guys make all the difference in the world, and we just want to say thank you. So, welcome back to church, and today we are launching into a new series called Life-Changing Relationships.
Dennis, thanks. I didn't know we had gummy bears over there. That's pretty, can you guys wait just, that's amazing. I'm going to come to this building more often. Good morning. So glad you're here. There's people... The front row, Abby, that's pastor kid high five right there. Are you in trouble? Your mom make you sit there? Okay. We are starting a new series. It's called Life Changer. I want some crowd participation, okay? What are things, I was thinking the other day about this, and I asked some of my friends, there's all kinds of things you can do by yourself. You can accomplish alone. Tasks, activities. And then there's some you can't. Right? So when you think about things you can do alone, what are things that come to mind you can do by yourself? Read. Come on. I'm on. What? Cook. You can cook by yourself and eat, right? And do the dishes, like all things. Like, all right, somebody was over here. Sleep. You can sleep by yourself. Yeah, and at your age, you should. So. Sorry. I know his dad's back there somewhere. Okay. A couple more. What can you do by yourself? I know you've said some. I just didn't hear them all. Watch a movie. Bike? Yeah. Work out. Like an innumerable amount of things, right? And then I started thinking, I asked some of my friends, what are like things you can't do by yourself? And I decided, it got weird when I asked other people this one, so we're not doing, like, you just keep them in here. Some that came to my, like, for my friends and Google, you can't hug by yourself. That's pretty awesome. Like, hugs are good. Unless you don't like them, then they're not. That's okay. Reproduce life, make a baby. Like, can't do that by yourself. Play any sport. Like I thought about this. Like, you could throw a football and kick a soccer ball, but you can't play a team sport. Like, you can't actually play a game of football by yourself. And soccer's not a real sport, so you should play baseball. But you can't do it like, you can throw a frisbee, but you can't play frisbee. You can't water ski by yourself, I don't think. Like, I haven't figured that one out. I did, like, on the list I Googled, they had skydive, but then I realized if you don't care about the plane, you actually can skydive by yourself, but the plane will not survive. You can do some things by yourself, and then some things you need other people, right? And I started thinking about, because it's church and I'm a pastor, like spiritual things. Church, Jesus, whatever you want to call it. I was like, what can I do by myself there? Like some of the similar things. Like, you can read the Bible. You can read something inspiring. You can pray. I mean, lots of things I can do by myself. And at times, I should do some of those things by myself. And then I started thinking of spiritual things I can't do alone. And I thought about baptism. Like, you can accept Jesus, like, even find him, meet him, read about him, like, experience Holy Spirit and accept him as your Lord and Savior. I truly believe. And I've heard stories of people who did that without anyone else involved except God. But then they wanted to get baptized, and then it's like, people. Like, you can't baptize yourself. You need somebody else there. We're going to do a baptism thing. And so I thought, well, I should give you a heads up. We're going to celebrate baptism, so maybe you're thinking about that. And it's not the main point of what we're going to talk about today, but I thought, if that's on your heart, your mind, and so you can think about it, you can text the word baptism, you can talk to anybody on our team at the name tag or at the tent, and we'd love to have a conversation about that. It's coming up. It's the end of the month, August 28th. You see it there. It's going to be a big party like it is today. But let's talk about relationships. You can't do a relationship. You can't be you have a relationship with yourself and you talk to yourself, but like people, right? We're around people. And I started thinking back to something that's kind of been on my mind for a while. I don't know if you've been thinking about it, but I started thinking about the fruit of the Spirit for some odd reason. And I was looking at Galatians, this letter. The last 10 weeks, if you haven't been here, we've been going through the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience. And Paul writes about those in a part of our New Testament called Galatians. It's a letter to a bunch of churches in the region of Galatia about how to live life in God's kingdom. And he puts his list of like attributes of connecting with God right in the middle of a section about relationships and how to deal with people. The very next verse after the fruit of the Spirit says, since this is the kind of life we have chosen, life of joy, peace, life connected to God, life of experiencing the Spirit and bearing fruit. Since we've chosen that, nobody made us do this. Since this is the kind of life we've chosen, the life of the Spirit, let us make sure that we do not just hold it as an idea in our heads or a sentiment in our hearts. This Jesus following Spirit is not just an idea or a feeling, but work out its implications in every detail of our lives. He's saying this is more than just how you think or how you feel. It's those things and how you live, how you take action, how you treat the people around you. He gives us an example of what he means. Work out the implications of every detail of our lives. That means we will not compare ourselves with each other. Another translation uses the word compete. We will not compare ourselves with each other. People. Relationships. As if one were better and another worse. We have far more interesting things to do with our lives, don't we? Come on, right? Each of us, each of you, everybody watching this online, everybody in this room is an original. Throughout the teachings of Jesus, people like Paul and Peter and James, the early church writers, relationships, how you and I interact with each other, and how that shows Jesus to the world is of top priority. And I want to talk about these next several weeks. How do we have relationships that are life-changing? Not just, we all have normal relationships, and some of our relationships will stay normal. And this phrase, life-changing relationships, I just want to make sure you understand where it fits inside the things as a church we do. We fully believe and so much of what we do revolves around three actions, three habits that I know that when they're in my life, and when I've seen them and watched people use these three actions and put them into their life, they grow closer. They follow Jesus better. I follow Jesus better when I have worship. When the times that we're together and the times that I'm alone, or maybe with another person or two, worship happens in all of those venues. When I'm sitting on my deck in the morning, and when I'm here on Sundays or other times, it's amazing. I need that. And I also need relationships. So this phrase is a part of our strategy. It's one of three habits, actions you and I have to take to be fully following Jesus. We have to be involved in relationships like this, what we're going to talk about today. And then the third is living selflessly. Selfless living. Your time in the community, in our church, your resources, your just charity, generosity, in all its forms. These three things, I think of almost like a Venn diagram, like draw these as circles, and where they overlap is where people are following Jesus. You can't, you're out of balance. I'm out of balance when I only have one or two functioning. So we're going to spend a few weeks on relationships. Because the important question for us today is, do the relationships you have now, are they making you better? You kind of staying the same. The relationships kind of, they're just like, they're good, they're comfortable. The status quo isn't bad. Maybe there's some of our relationships, more than we care to admit, they actually make us worse. I feel like that's the question we need to really maybe consider for a minute. Actually, maybe not. I think there's a better question. I apologize. So if you're taking notes, don't scratch that out. I think the better question is, can you name the people in your life that help you follow Jesus better? The people, do you have people by name that you think of in this moment, you go, man, this person, this life group, these relationships, they help me follow Jesus a little bit more today than yesterday. That's how I define, to me, that's the definition of a life-changing relationship. It's someone or a group of people that I help and they help. We help each other follow Jesus. And I started thinking about what are the attributes that those relationships have in common in people's experience. And I was asking some other people that helped me put these messages together, and came with a list of 5 attributes. They're not going to show up here. They're actually in the sermon notes on the app if you want to see them or look back at them later. But I think those kind of relationships have to be mutual. They have to be both directional. If you have a group that that everyone in the group benefits, not just one person getting all the benefit all the time. There's seasons where we have to focus on one person or a family. I think they're mutual. I think they're honest. You're going like, well, of course they're honest. And I think through, how many people am I really honest with in this world? And how many people are you vulnerable with? Like they know everything. You're like, oh, that kind of honest. I think when relationships are honest, they change us for the better. They're empathetic. I'm being seen and heard and known. They're graceful. Jesus said in John 13:34, love one another as I have loved you. That's full of grace. Life-changing relationships have forgiveness and grace. Last one, they're available. You know there's people that would say, like you would describe a relationship, but if you needed anything, you wouldn't call them because you tried it, nothing happened. They're not available. And here's the thing about available, like a kind of maybe a side. Please do not fall for the fallacy in important relationships that quality compensates for quantity time. I hear this all the time, especially from busy families. It's like, well, when we're together, we have quality time. We're just so busy. Quantity is better than quality when it comes to time in relationships. Trust me. If you don't believe me, let's talk. Maybe you don't want that. And it's okay. I get it. Maybe you don't like mutual, honest, empathetic, graceful, available. You're like, Chris, they sound good. I know I'm supposed to say yes, but I just can't. It's really difficult. And I started thinking about what makes it difficult, because it has been for me. Some of us, we just don't need anybody else. We've been taught to be independent. And it's hard to go, well, mutual and like, no, I'm here to, I don't need that. Or I have enough friends. Sometimes I hear folks talk about just being misunderstood a lot. Nobody gets them. It makes it hard to think about relationships that are vulnerable and honest. I think for some of us, since we're talking about honesty, we've tried this. We're a different church, or maybe this church, and you went into some relationships. You went into a group or something and kind of put yourself out there and didn't go well. I'm so sorry. And the thing I'm really aware of is there's times where just as often as I've experienced that pain, I've caused that pain. And other people who aren't bad, they just made mistakes, and I made mistakes or didn't realize things. We've hurt each other. And I'm so sorry if that's been your experience, and that makes it challenging to think about relationships at a deeper level. Some of us that challenges this mindset that my Jesus stuff is private. Like my spiritual life, that's just me and Jesus. Like that's not for anybody else. And that's a challenge, a roadblock. Some of us, our kids are too busy. Like what keeps you from entering into some of the things we can do to help each other follow Jesus is just your kids' sports and activity schedule. I get it. And we think that like busy kids equal healthy kids. At whatever age, that's not true. Because what I know is not true, that busy Chris is not healthy Chris. And that's true for you too. Like, let's just be honest, busyness and healthiness don't go together. And anyone who thinks that is wrong. I'm just sorry, you're wrong. As wrong as I want my donuts to be healthy. Right? Like, and if you want to talk about that, like busyness is the most common enemy of our spiritual, emotional, psychological, and intellectual, physical health is busyness. It's the virus we should be fighting, along with the others. Don't take that out of context. Fear and shame, we're so held by that. It keeps us out of so many good relationships. It does for me. I assume if people knew my stuff, they would never want to talk. Like, right? Like if you went to a group and said, hey, here's kind of the real me, and you think nobody's coming back, right? That holds us back. I don't know what it is for you. But I found myself not that long ago. Maybe you can relate to this. I went through a couple things called 2020 and 2021. Anybody else remember those? You're trying to forget? I am. Man, those were hard years. And it made my wife want to isolate. We wanted to retreat. We wanted to build I heard somebody describe it like you go in your house and you shut all the shutters and windows so you feel like there's no world out there. I was living that. During COVID, racial, political tensions, conflicts, myself and our elders and our leaders were making decisions. We'd make a decision and no group of people were happy. No teams, no sides, no opinions. It was just like, and at some point, no matter how strong you are, if every decision you make is questioned, you start to, and people go, I don't like that. At some point, it wears you down. It did me. It's like, well, they don't like me. And you realize later that that's not true. Well, it was true in some situations, I found out, but I just wanted to isolate. And then a bunch of our staff decided they wanted to live other places, work other places, and each of those stories were different. And they all got lumped together as some negative thing. And some of them were, and they were hard. And it was hard, it was hard for you too, wasn't it? And kids and school and work and online and all the things. And I was tempted to say, hey, I've got life-changing relationships, my wife and my therapist, that's enough. And I was in a life group. We were meeting only on Zoom. And Christy and I were just we just made the decision, and it was probably the wrong decision. We just weren't honest with them and sharing everything. We were trying to isolate. And actually, if you were part of that group, some of them I saw last service, I don't know if anybody's here now. I'm sorry we weren't more honest. We should have been. It was hard. Maybe those kind of seasons were all coming out of that. When we talk about relationships and moving forward, and you go, no, I don't want to do that. I understand the desire to isolate. So we just said about a year ago, we can't stay this way. So that group was intended, we helped start it, and they've got a great leader, and they've kept going, and I just talked to the leader after last service. It actually has grown since I quit leading it. That's amazing. Actually, very predictable for me in small groups. But now we're in a group with 4 other couples, or 3 other couples. There's 4 of us total that have very similar stages of life, and we've all, I feel like all of us have just been honest and available. It's mutual. It's been so life-giving. And I feel like we're not for the first time, Christy and I have experienced this many, many times in our life and our seasons and journey of being around people who are helping us follow Jesus, and we think we're helping them too. I hope you have that. And if you have places, when I ask the question, who's helping you follow Jesus, and you got a bunch of names come to mind or enough names, keep that going. I'm not gonna ask you to change that. And maybe for some of us, as we talk about just this season, you're like, well, I used to have that, or I tried that. I had that before COVID. I had it before somebody made a new rule. I don't know if you guys know the rule that Democrats and Republicans can't be in the same church or the same small group. I don't know where that rule came from. I'm being facetious, you can laugh. That's not a real rule. It seems to be an unspoken rule in some of our minds. We're not allowed to intermingle with people with different opinions. I don't know what's making it hard for you today, the things I shared. But today I want to talk for the rest of our time about why we offer things to help each other. Because we need help. Things are challenging, but they're so important. And if you already have them, hear me clearly, keep them up. Do it. I'm staying with my group. But for some of us, you don't have that right now. Or your group needs an infusion of something. So we're gonna really focus a lot of our attention this fall on on an opportunity we call Rooted. And it starts right after Labor Day. And what it's for, you got this when you walked in, right? Yeah, hold it up. I want like proof of life. Like, okay, I wasn't out there. I didn't see it. I was talking to the hot dog guys. Okay. It's got stuff on the back coming up. I just want to explain for just a couple minutes this because it's so vital. This is how, as a church, we want to help each other enter into life-changing relationships. What is it? It's a 10-week experience. We're another group of people. And what I say over and over again, and the first week, if you go and sign up, you'll hear this again. You will experience life change if you do the things we're asking you to do. If you lean into this experience, it will change your life. It's a high commitment. We live in a world, we're willing to make high commitments in certain places. And I think as a church, universally, we're really fond of low commitment and just hope and prayer. And for the next 10 weeks after Labor Day, I'm asking for maximum commitment from our whole church. It's the only way you get impact and change in the things you're hoping and longing for. So why? Because this is how we can help one another follow Jesus. And if we were to walk around the room and do a poll, you and I are lacking those opportunities. We need this. We can't do this life on our own. We've just seen it work over and over again. And so we're going to keep doing this. In January, we'll have more groups. So some details. You see them on your paper. The groups start the 6th. That's Tuesday after Labor Day. And then we'll have groups every night, Sunday through Thursday. Someone asked me last service, like, well, what time? Well, if you go onto the places that you can see to register, you'll see the times. If you go to the 10th, there's folks out there, they have the schedule. They're in the evenings. There's all kinds of choices. The cost is $35. Someone asked me, well, I already have a book. I know the book's new, and you need a fresh look. So we're asking you to buy a new book. If you've done it before, do it again. And if you got to pay the money over time, or talk to us about that. But it costs money for the books. We're going to do a dinner and kind of party celebration November 18th for all the groups that are going to be meeting together that night. So the cost covers the book, it covers that. We're providing childcare, and that's just your tithes and offerings from the church. It's taking care of the childcare for all of those nights that need it. So the expectations, I just want to be really clear. It is a high level of commitment. And some of you have done it, and you need to do it again. And I'll talk about that in a second more, but you see them. I don't need to read them out to you, right? But people ask, like, why? Because if you're not there, we're asking you to make a commitment about attendance about that week 5 in October. Like, if you've got a trip planned during that time of your group, you can't do Rooted. You do it later, or you can change your trip if you want, because we've seen what happens, and it's worth it. The work, the material. This is day 3. You see a picture of day 3 on week 3. It's just a typical lesson, and every week you're going to have 5 of these. And you read these 2 pages, and then you flip over and you see that's the same page on the screen. You're reading a little bit of the Bible, a little bit of people's thoughts, of the author's commentary and teaching, and then you're answering 4 questions. If you're like me, your 4 answers are fairly short. I've been in Rooted groups where people wrote novels and poetry, and I was like, whoa. I wrote bullet points. It doesn't matter. We just want you to do this. And then you come back together. The last thing is you come back together and you just share a little bit of what you saw, what your answers or what you thought or your questions. You participate. And when I've done that, when I've watched now hundreds of people in our community, in our church, lean into this, it's been amazing. The second or third time, I can't remember, that I led a group of people through Rooted. When I lead a group, a couple of the nights or the sessions, I have the men and the women do the part of the conversation separately. And it was one of those nights, and all of us guys, we were actually meeting in the hospitality room, my group. So all the gals were in there, and the doors were shut, and all us guys were sitting like right here in a small circle of chairs. I'll never forget what happened. We were sitting there, and one of the guys spoke up, and I'd known this guy for quite a while as a part of our church, and he said, I need to share something. My wife and I talked about this the last several days, and we feel it's time to say to you all something we've never said before. So she's actually going to share this with the females in our group right now, too. And I was like, oh gosh, what's coming? Like I didn't know. And he said, we've asked you many times to pray for our child. We have a teenager. And what we haven't told you is our teenager has social anxiety. And we've just asked for vague prayers and health. And it's actually really specific. And high school's being really challenging. And we're not sure where this is going. We're really scared. And we don't understand it. We don't understand her. We don't understand what the doctors are saying. And we're just like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm the pastor. I'm supposed to know what to say. And we kind of just sat there. And a guy sitting right next to me, who I also known for a really long time, he was older. He has grandkids. He said, hey, can I say something? I'm like, thank you. Praise the Lord. He said, I don't talk a lot about this. I, many, many years ago, was diagnosed with social anxiety. He goes, I know what your daughter's going through. And now it's like, what just happened? And this conversation that wasn't a part of the material, wasn't a part of my plan, these two people being in the same group at the same time. And the old gentleman just shared a couple things briefly, and he said, hey, why don't we get together? And I know they did at least a couple times. I said, let me just help you understand. And I can now put into some words that maybe your daughter can't because of where I am in my life. And we're all just sitting in this circle, like we're all crying. I think a couple of you were in that group, and I was just it was like this holy moment that nobody except God himself could orchestrate, right? You need to be in relationships where those holy moments happen. And I'm not saying it's only through this, but if you don't have that, then you need this. And some of you I know are sitting there going, I already did that. I checked the box, man. I did my rooted thing. You told us to do it a long time ago. I know. I'm asking you to do it again. To be really clear, I'm asking every person who's a part of this church who wants their life to change, to be more like Jesus, to jump in. We got lots of room, lots of groups. If you haven't done this in the last 24 months, I'm asking you to do it again. Because here's the thing, I take classes once. If you repeat classes, cool, you have a different personality than me. I only need information once, and I either forget it or write it down and remember it. But this isn't information. This isn't like a study of facts, and it's an experience. And I use that word over and over again, and some of you make fun of me for it. It is truly the word. And I repeat experiences that are good, don't you? I mean, you ever go to a restaurant and say, I'm never going back, check the box. That food was amazing. That was the best pasta I ever had. Never back. I go on to the next one. No, you go back. You can't. I camp at the same place in the North Rim as often as I can. The exact same spot. Because I love it. Go to the same place for vacation if it's good. If it's bad, you move on. And if your root experience was bad, well, my friends, you're so much more mature today than you were that day. It's going to be awesome. Try it again. I was talking to Joel Rohrbaugh, who leads our college ministry at the corner. When he first experienced Rooted, he was professional, busy, and he said the second time he actually grew infinitely more than the first time. I was like, we need that. In the last 3 years, our church, the demographics tell us half of you are new. You've only been in our church 3 years or less. And then the other half of us have been here a long time. The other reason we do this together is you get to just meet different people. Our church gets to intermingle. I don't know what's holding you back. But I thought of one more thing I can't do alone. The end of Paul's section on relationships in the letter to the Galatian churches, he says, therefore, it's the end of this section. That's why the therefore is there. As we have opportunity, and that's all rooted is an opportunity, really important. Don't pass it up, opportunity. As we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. Friends, we're called to do good, and I can't do good to other people by myself. You can't do that alone, and neither can you. You need other people in your life to help you follow Jesus. And we have an opportunity. Can you name those people who are helping you follow Jesus? Maybe you should experience rooted with them. Or maybe you should take a step and join a group and find some more people to add to that list or to start that list. Imagine, just imagine with me for a second the places where you have heartache and frustration and pain. If you had a circle of people that were helping you follow Jesus, when you went home, what kind of healing could take place? If you're more like Jesus, and you have a team that's supporting you, or your workplace, in your school, in your friend group, to all people do good, especially us who are followers of Jesus together, and we do that. Imagine the impact a group of people, a church doing that together could have on this community. Maybe you live in Flagstaff or Williams or Munns Park, whatever you live in a mud field. Like wherever, do good to others, especially each other as followers of Jesus. What could be different as we have this opportunity? Jesus, help us overcome the real barriers to life-changing relationships. Let us follow you closer because we're with each other. God, I pray this next season of our lives transforms us and our families, our schools, and this entire community for your sake and glory. Jesus, let it be so.